Hello, I am Mayor Dianne Camelo Didio, and I am here today with Put Oradell First Council candidates Rob Jannicelli and Miriam Yu. I am certain that you have had an opportunity to meet them, and they look forward to responding to the many questions and concerns raised by the residents of Oradell. Thank you to OPTV for broadcasting this interview and giving us the opportunity to discuss the issues. Miriam, Rob, how are you?
Good, very good.
Thank you.
So you've had the opportunity to knock on several doors and speak to many residents, and I'm sure you've heard their concerns about our downtown and also about our historical treasures like the Blauvelt Mansion and the Waterworks. What are your thoughts about these issues, and what actions would you like Oradell to take to make progress on both historic preservation and downtown revitalization?
To talk about historic preservation, I think first off we need to take a step back and realize that as a community, Oradell is pretty fortunate. Most towns don't even have two properties or even one, and Oradell happens to be blessed with two. I think there are historical landmarks, and I think there's an opportunity for us to make sure we look at them to revitalize, repurpose, and hopefully monetize them so they can bring more to the Oradell community. And when we talk about historic preservation and downtown development, they seem like they're on opposite ends of the time spectrum, but really I think we want to tie both together because we can do that. We can have our historic preservation tied to our downtown development. Unfortunately, I guess you can say we're as you know, we're in a wait and see approach with really both properties, with the county being in charge and in control. The negotiations, the private negotiations to acquire the Blauvelt Mansion as an example, we kind of have to take a step back and see what's going to happen there. I'm cautiously optimistic that something positive is going to happen. I look to a couple other county historic preservation properties like the Newbridge Landing in River Edge, as well as the Hermitage in Ohokis, and in fact took my girls' Christmas pictures at the Hermitage last year, which came out wonderful.
Beautiful location.
Absolutely. So, I think, those two properties are a gem for the town. We have to take that wait and see approach to an extent. I think we want to be proactive, and we should be discussing and looking in terms of what ideas we have, what types of funding we could possibly get should those talks break down. But I think, the two should be talked about in the same conversation.
I agree.
Yeah,
Miriam?
and to that, these two landmarks really serve as a voice of who we once were, and what we do choose to do with them and how we repurpose them is a testament to who we are and who we want to be as a community. So in line with what he's saying, we can tie our opportunity to develop our downtown with the preservation of our landmarks. And what it's going to require is a lot of smart development and some planning, and that planning has to be in line with the heart and soul of Oradell. And so we really need to make sure that we listen to what people are saying, and make sure that we don't overdevelop this town. Like many have said, we don't want another Ridgewood where it's hustle and bustle all the time, but we want a vibrant and charming business district, not Times Square, but just something that everyone can enjoy, from our littlest citizens to our oldest. As many know, the master plan is being developed, and this is a great time to become involved, or if you're not already. And it's really going to require a lot of community participation, and that's going to be very important and necessary. And it's critical, and it's also very exciting. But this is a 10-year plan. I think more immediately we need to find a way to attract businesses. And initiatives like yours with the Connect Oradell, where you have a group of business owners, local business owners, discussing ideas, is a step in the right direction. And some of the other initiatives, like I know that down in Trenton, our state legislators are discussing a bill that would allow Oradell to have an extra liquor license, which is critical. We have two in town right now, but we still need a third to kind of just tie us all together, a good restaurant where people can come and just enjoy.
Right.
And I know that there's some restrictions about this liquor license, but it's going to be developed for towns like Oradell, who have a business development district. So I think what we need to do is seek out grants for municipal improvements, continue to work with state legislators, and continue to listen to our residents.
It's all about relationships
It is.
and communication.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
I echo your sentiments wholeheartedly. On another issue, there are no doubt many reasons why residents choose to live in Oradell, raise their families here, and then those families stay just like both of you have done.
Right.
But I suspect that many come down to quality of life issues. What do you think are the top quality of life issues affecting Oradell? And what are your thoughts on how to protect and enhance the wonderful quality of life that we do have here?
Well, I can speak to our seniors. You know, I was fortunate enough to live with my grandmother for 15 years until about 10 years ago. And for me, I think when we have seniors, and we have such a large population of them in Oradell, it respects. There's so much wisdom there to be shared. And I hate that when we go door to door and we talk to our seniors, they're saying that they're being phased out, or they have to leave because of high taxes. And instead of just saying, okay, well, you raised your kids here, so on you go, we have to think of a way that we can still include them in the community. And I know some of the issues are they're on a fixed income and it's limited. And so I was really excited to learn that earlier this year there was a bill that was approved, I think it was in March, where the existing senior tax freeze program is going to be revamped. So rather than what's happening currently where they're getting a rebate check at, I think, the next year,
Correct.
What they're going to do is issue that rebate as a credit on the third and fourth. So they're not paying out of pocket,
The third and fourth tax quarters.
the third and fourth
Yes.
tax quarters, right? So that they can use that money for themselves and they don't have to worry about all of their limited income going to taxes.
Which gives us the other idea of alternative housing and senior housing, and which
Right.
is also part of the master plan
Yep.
process.
Yeah.
So, Rob?
Absolutely. I think too, as far as the seniors, it's everything Miriam said. I agree with 100%. And I'm a, I guess you could say, a victim or a beneficiary of my parents being retired that ended up looking for a better quality of their retirement because of the taxes, opted to sell their home, which they sold to me, which is the beneficiary part. But they left not only Oradell, they left the state to move out of state. Fortunately close to other family, but missing out a little bit on my two girls while they're growing up as a result of being so far away.
Right.
Right, and then along the lines of senior housing, it's definitely something that we want to look into. But I think what's going to be the most important is that it's done in the right place. We don't want to just have senior housing for the sake of senior housing. It should be accessible and convenient for our seniors and a place that they want to be.
Exactly. It'll
Yeah.
remove some of the burdens too, not only of the high taxes, but the
Right.
maintenance
Yeah.
costs that can be very expensive with home ownership.
Right.
Even the simplest things of shoveling your walkways or raking your leaves, that would all be taken care of in a
Yeah.
development of that kind.
Yeah.
Right. Also, just to talk about the quality of life, I mean, Miriam and I walking, knocking door to door, a couple of things that have come up, specifically since I'm on the Recreation Committee, as you appointed me to that committee. The Parks and Rec, we have beautiful parks, Memorial Field, DPAC, Hoffman Field, and Grant Field. However, I think we're lacking a little bit right now as far as the playground aspect on two of our parks, and that's DPAC and Grant Field. Having young kids and having my older daughter starting to participate in sporting events both at Grant Field and DPAC, I'm pretty familiar with the playgrounds there. Unfortunately, the DPAC playground does not meet up with the rest of the facility there. I've seen some of the comments on Facebook as well as some of the residents that I spoke to. I spoke with our rec director in town as part of our rec committee meetings, and we kind of prioritized, the playgrounds in terms of what's in need of repair. DPAC to me was number one, and Grant Field was a very close second. With Grant Field, my other concern there, which a friend of mine who lives in town right near that park brought to my attention this past summer. He was at the swing set with his two little ones, pushing them in the swing, and a dad and son were doing some batting practice at the baseball field there, and a ball came very, very close to hitting one of his kids while on the swing set. So besides, working on improving the playgrounds there, I think we should really strongly consider at least the swing set part of that playground at Grant Field, relocating it or doing something to ensure that the kids can play, the safety of the kids can play while the game's going on or while kids are practicing, getting ready for their games.
Right, right.
The other big topic which has been coming up, which again I can relate to very well, is the Oradell Swim Club.
Yes. Yes.
when it comes to quality of life. I was on the board. As I've said in my previous video, I pretty much grew up at the swim club. I'm a member still today. My family's enjoying it very much, and I know there's some concerns with the swim club in terms of its financial viability. And I think we really, as a town, need to look at creating some sort of a private-public partnership with the swim club. And I know, you've taken the steps on the town council side to help ease the burden on the monies that the swim club has to pay the town to operate. But the bottom line is that swim club is pretty much limited in terms of what they can do. The money that comes in from membership and dues goes right out with the operating costs.
Right.
And unfortunately, in that situation, again, going back to when I was on the board, you were basically living paycheck to paycheck. So it was like, can we pay the bills? Can we get everything covered? And cross our fingers that no major catastrophe happens with anything in the grounds. And last year we had the issue with the electrical problem, which had to force the board to assess the membership, $100 per family. And if we can have this type of a partnership, I think there's opportunity for us to look to have access and ability to pull funds, grants to help revitalize the swim club property. From there, I think we can then expand out maybe some of the offerings with the swim club in terms of offering it to other town membership programs, like they've done with the rec program for the kids, having a couple swim club days, maybe making that more of a normality versus a special type of an occasion. Additionally, we have right next to the swim club, we have that DPAC facility, which is an incredible facility. I would love to see those two, down the road tied together in some form. If we can have some sort of a rec center or clubhouse building that can allow us to have both facilities be utilized more year round, have some more options for the kids to go hang out versus in front of Rite Aid.
Yeah.
I think we have a real gem there that could be a real win for the town. And I think that's something that can be profitable. We can look to outside funding without having to go to the taxpayers like myself and you guys to say, hey, we got to pay for this.
Right.
Let's look for the funding that could be available
I
for
think
us.
that's a great idea, and the public-private partnership is a very good model to look into and pursue, as well as grant monies. And by working together with the municipality, that is something that becomes a reality and perhaps can help us achieve our goals.
Right.
Right, and
We
I-
have two success stories right around the corner, from us, Haworth and Fairlawn, that we can look to reach out to ask some questions. How did they make it successful? We can look to emulate that.
I have met with Haworth, and I discussed their plan with them, and I got a very good understanding of what they did and how they did it. I look forward to reaching out to Fairlawn as well. Thank you.
And I think we had discussed this also, that if we can also utilize the swim club, if we can somehow, this is obviously going to require some additional funding, but make it accessible to seniors more year-round. So if we build that clubhouse, we can have some more activities in there. Or if we can somehow make a part of one of the pools indoor for part of the year.
Absolutely.
Or even get a heater for some of the pools so we can extend those summer months so we can increase our revenue from memberships and fees that we collect. I think another issue with the quality of life, and this is one that I think we've been hearing consistently, and probably the one that's most important to me, is pedestrian safety. It's not just speeding that's the issue. I think some of the other issues that were brought up were the timing of traffic lights. In some locations, I know that those who are living on Lincoln and it's Garden, they can't make that left because that traffic light is no longer a no turn on red.
That has to be addressed, because that no turn on red was put in place when there was a closure going on.
Right,
at
for
the
that
bridge,
bridge.
the Elm Street Bridge.
Right.
The bridge is open. We have to readdress and look at.
Yeah, because
having that.
and I know there's a lot of families, a lot of new families on that block, and they just can't catch a break to make that left turn.
Exactly.
And then as the traffic continues further down at that curve where you have Lake Street running into Kindercramack, that's a really wide intersection. And every morning when I'm driving home from dropping the kids off, there are people trying to cross there every single day. And even if one part of the street stops, the others keep going, and they just book it. They
People
run
don't
for
respect
it.
the crosswalks.
Right. That's that. But then I also think that it's difficult to identify some of these crosswalks that I've noticed. Like I know we've installed the lit up signs for pedestrian crossing on Cool Beans, but a lot of people seem to just, they have tunnel vision when they're driving and they're not looking at the surroundings. So maybe if we can, and I don't know, these are just ideas. I know a lot of people have ideas, but when you start looking into things, there are certain restrictions and ordinances. So we just got to keep digging to find the answer.
Well, it's community policing also, and now that we
Right.
have a full complement on the force,
Yep.
we can start doing more of that
Yep.
and start enforcing those pedestrian safety laws that we just didn't have the manpower to do in the past.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. I think once we start to enforce consistently, and we're all concerned about our taxes, but let's say you get fined or your insurance rates go up for speeding, then people will start to realize that you're not going to speed in Oradell.
Exactly.
And that'll keep, and I think there's also, in terms of pedestrian safety, opportunities for some more street lamps in certain areas that we've heard from going door to door.
Right.
So I want to make this my mission. I want to do whatever I can to just, make it known that it's not going to be okay to text and drive here, drink and drive here, or speed.
Or be selfish and in a rush to get someplace and not obey the
Right. My dad used to always tell me, just take, like when you're stuck at a T and you feel like you're never going to make that left, he said, just wait. The maximum amount of time you're going to wait is 5 minutes, but you will always get your turn.
Exactly, and it could cost people
Their
their
lives. Yeah.
Well, Mary and I were walking Lincoln right behind the Milford Ave. We actually witnessed a fender bender
Yep.
that occurred while
Right
we
at
were
that
walking
red
right
light.
there, right at that red light. So it was kind of interesting. Right after we witnessed that, we started knocking on the
Having
doors
those
on Lincoln,
discussions,
Yeah.
right?
and the
irony
topic
of
came up.
that.
Well, it wouldn't be a political campaign if taxes and fiscal responsibility weren't on the top of everyone's list, and with good reason. Taxes in New Jersey, Bergen County, and Oradell are a tremendous burden for many. Rob, you spoke about your parents having to move out of the area. Is this consistent with what you've been hearing as you walk the town? And what are your thoughts on how the mayor and council can be best stewards of our residents' tax dollars?
Yeah, I think if this were Family Feud, survey says number one answer is taxes. It's been obviously a consistent theme. The reality is taxes don't typically go down. I don't think I can recall any point in my life when taxes have gone down. However, I think there are things that we can do to minimize any increases in taxes. And just as importantly, as far as living in a town like Oradell, ensure that for what we're paying in our taxes, we're getting the absolute best services possible. And when I look at what we could do as far as myself and Miriam and really the current council and the Put Oradell First team, I really think we're on the right path, and I think we're doing the right things. And I want to obviously continue along that path. I look at it as, from what I've seen, is you guys kind of look at it and take it in a 3-question approach in terms of to our financial responsibility. One being, are we spending the money wisely? This could be just being more disciplined with how we're deciding what we're going to purchase, what we're going to spend money on. Just like when you operate your home budget. And when I talk to my wife about spending money, it's like, okay, is this something that we need or something that we want? Exactly.
Big difference.
And it is a big difference. And we had that discussion last year when it came to purchasing a new vehicle for the family. We needed to have the minivan. I didn't want to buy the minivan in that case, but we needed the minivan. We needed that option to have more space, and so we went ahead and made that purchasing decision. So I think making sure we're spending wisely is the first question that we ask ourselves, which I've seen the mayor and council doing. Second, are we doing everything we can to bring in as much revenue as possible? And I think with the hiring of the grant writers, looking to see what other funds we can pull from to get other people, in essence, to pay for the improvements that we want to make in town is a fantastic approach. I want to obviously continue to do that, continue to leverage our connections we have at the county and state level to say, what else can we be doing? What else should we be doing as far as where are other funds available that maybe we're not looking into, and having those conversations. And then third, are we driving down costs as much as possible? Would be the third question that we ask when looking at our fiscal responsibility. And really that comes with, networking with other towns, the towns around us. What are they doing? How are they saving money? Where are their cost savings that we're not taking advantage of now? Let's not think that we know all the answers. Let's reach out and ask those questions.
And I think basically everything that we're discussing kind of all ties in together. We want to increase our revenues, and when we enforce speeding and some of these other problems that we have, that we can generate revenue from income streams like that. Or for the taxes for the seniors, we want to lobby our assembly to make sure that that bill gets passed so that we can have further financial savings for the people that need it the most.
And in terms of reaching out to the other communities, I belong to two organizations. One is the Pascack Valley Mayors Association, one is the Northern Valley Mayors Association, and in fact, I also belong to the Bergen County Mayors Association. And I meet regularly with all three of those organizations at least once a month to discuss these very issues. And we put our heads together because frankly, although we're different towns, we all have the same issues and concerns. And it's a very good avenue and road for me to determine what other people are doing and how they can serve as models for us and what we can do moving
Well, and I think
forward.
what you've shown us is that increasing services doesn't necessarily mean increase in
dollars.
taxes. Like
Exactly.
the garbage pickup is a prime example. We've increased quality of life, and we've saved $100,000 in the process,
Exactly.
and we will continue to save hundreds of thousands
Yes.
over the next few years.
Yeah.
It's all great.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Well, thank you both.
Thank
It's
you
been a
so
pleasure
much.
speaking with
Thank you.
and I look forward to knocking on some more doors with you and identifying other issues and concerns that we can address for the residents of Oradell.
Yeah. And I wanted the residents to know that if you ever need to reach us or contact us, we're easily accessible. We'd be more than willing to meet with you and continue to listen to your issues.
I agree.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.